Good evening. As Director Gibbs said, we have two stations with which we're going to be able to take public comment tonight. We have a station labeled A and a station labeled B. At the beginning of our time, I will read all of the names off of the sheets as you sign them with me outside, and we'll have you each directed to each location. As somebody completes giving their public comment, I'll call the next person down on the list for you to go whichever station has the shortest line at the time. You'll have 3 minutes to provide public comment, but it's really important as you start your public comment that you please clearly state your name and your address prior to the comment so that when we compose this in written record, we have all of that information along with your comment. If you choose not to make a comment, we also have outside the white sheets of paper, a verbal comment that is, we have white sheets of paper which you can write down your comment and drop it in drop boxes or find one of us and we will take it for you and add it. Also on the fact sheet that we were provided, there is an email address on there. So if you choose to make comment at a later date, you can also make it through the email address that's provided on the fact sheet. So at this time, what we'll have is people that will be helping and assisting with the public recording. So if they can come forward and get ready to do so. And we'll get ready to call people's names so that they can start coming up and making their public comment.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Can the speakers speak so that the whole audience can hear them? That would help us a lot.
They will be both speaking simultaneously. They have 3 minutes each. So more than likely you're going to be able to hear what is going on. So we're going to start with the first people that were on the list. Patrick Boswald, will you please go to table A? And Jonas Magrum, will you please come to table B? Dorothy Dries will be up next at table A, and Richard Hulley will be up next at table B. So the initial people, please get up there that I called, Patrick and Jonas. Dorothy and Richard, please be ready to go behind them.
Michelle, I'm one of the first speakers, and I came prepared to make public comments.
Yes! Public comment!
Okay. Sir, we're going to allow you to make public comment. Please go to table A.
Up there, then you go to the next
Okay. Sir, if you don't want to make public comment, then we'll go to the next person.
It's not a public comment if the public can't hear it.
Patrick, please at table A. Jonas, please at table B. Dorothy and Richard will be next. If nobody goes up to table B, we'll call the next person on the list.
And who designed these rules?
In the interest of knowing what's said, it'd be nice to hear the comments.
There's no way the DNR can prevent a leak from this pipeline.
Here you come. Right here's your seat. Right here, sir.
I don't need to sit, thank you.
Then go to the next one, please.
Okay.
Why can't I sit?
Dorothy, please. Richard, please.
There's no way that the DNR can't even prevent their roof from leaking over here. This pipeline represents an unacceptable threat to Iowa's natural resources. And the DNR must, in exercising its sacred duty to the people and resources of Iowa, to reject this permit clearly and unequivocally. Secondly, there is no greater threat to Iowa's natural resources than the droughts and floods that climate change will wreak on our state. This pipeline will contribute and exacerbate that danger to Iowa. This pipeline permit must be rejected. That is the only responsible choice. The only responsible choice.
3 minutes are up.
Jonas, Dorothy and Richard Hulley are up next, please.
No. Pat Boswell's next.
Yeah, actually, listen, I couldn't have said it better myself.
No, his time's up. Dorothy and Richard. Richard, please, over here at Station B.
Pat Boswell's
Richard, please. Thank you.
My first name Patrick, last name
18 million gallons of oil and other chemicals have been dumped into the environment. 18 million gallons. you had a swimming pool 25 by 20, you could fill it 750 times. They'll tell you that if the union builds the pipeline, it won't leak. All the pipelines that leak were built by the union. They'll tell you that the pipeline companies will pay for the damage. You look in North Dakota, they pay 10% of tiny fines, tiny little fines. They pay 10%. That's like if I get a speeding ticket for $125, I pay $12.50. And
Randall McVeigh and Virginia Solberg, you're up
Thank you.
next.
Hey, Kelly, just keep it going.
Sir, if you'd like. Water supplies are severely challenged. We can't hear it is our duty to be stewards of our land. It is not our duty to help Dakota Access Corporation make money and ship this oil over the end. That's the choice.
That would fill it up 750 times. Like you said, 18 million gallons. What the hell?
We are on the sensitive hand of the public. They cost a lot of money over time to leave the reporter on this
Well, I'd like to know who's going to be responsible for the pipeline once the oil stops flowing.
If you can speak into the microphone so we can get your comment.
I'd like to know what happens to the pipeline once the oil stops flowing. Who's going to pay for it? Who's going to pay for getting the pipe and the oil out of the ground once that the company takes off and declares bankruptcy? And nobody has answered the question of how many thousands of acres of forested land will be removed for the pipeline. The company doesn't answer questions like that.
Does that conclude your comments?
Yeah.
Emily Shetler, please go to B.
Even if they did pay whatever it takes to pass their $250,000 bond. It's an no-brainer.
And before you start speaking, if you could state your name and your address.
Okay.
Joe
And
Wilkinson,
speak into the
please go to table A.
microphone.
Emily Shetler with the Iowa Association of Business and Industry, 400 East Court Avenue, Suite 100, Des Moines. Hello and thank you for your time this evening. My name is Emily Shetler and I'm here on behalf of the Iowa Association of Business and Industry and our 1,500 member companies, which employ more than 300,000 employees in all 99 Iowa counties. ABI supports the construction of the Bakken pipeline because it is a valuable economic development opportunity for our state. The permit under consideration is necessary for the overall completion of this project, which will benefit Iowans with jobs and stimulate economic activity both for the state and in local communities. Furthermore, the transport of raw petroleum products via pipeline is a safer method of shipment than by road cars or trucks, which are at risk of derailment or other accidents. This pipeline will be installed with the latest technological and safety features by highly skilled craftsmen to ensure safe operation. Dakota Access has completed environmental surveys and has worked and will continue to work with state regulators and landowners on land and habitat restoration once construction is finished to ensure complete rehabilitation of the affected areas. Thank you again for your time. I appreciate your consideration of this matter and encourage you to approve this permit.
Thank you.
Michelle.
Would you email me a copy of your comments?
Peter Clay, you're going to be at table A.
And
you're from?
Association of Business and
Oil will be transported to further our country's goal of energy independence. Up to 570,000 barrels daily.
Let us sit down and then you can
Okay.
just speak right into the microphone. State your name and your address.
My name is Peter Clay, 3205 East Pine Avenue, Des Moines, Iowa. The Big Sioux River Complex Wildlife Management Area, which is about 383 acres, is critical habitat for many avian species. What's there? There's important nesting grounds for many kinds of birds. In addition, it is an important resource for neotropical migrants. And although parts of it were grazed. It was never farmed. It was purchased with special funds to increase and maintain the biodiversity of bird species, the diversity of avifauna in our state. What species are present? American woodcock, bald eagles, yellow-billed cuckoo, many others, including wild turkeys. There's recreational value there, hunting for deer, hunting for turkey. The habitat is classified as prairie remnant and oak savanna. The DNR has done an excellent job in actively restoring this prairie remnant to a thriving short or tall grass prairie that will provide expanded and enhanced habitat to the species I listed and many others, including some that are either national or state endangered species. A crude oil spill in this very special wildlife management area would be catastrophic, and it would undo the years of careful restoration that is already underway and which must be held in trust for all of us here today and for future generations of Iowans. Pipeline spill. If the DNR issues a permit for the 4 sovereign lands that the proposed pipeline would cross, it is placing in severe jeopardy a sacred trust with the people of our state. I strongly oppose the issuing of a permit for the Bakken oil pipeline to cross our precious sovereign lands.
White Baldwin.
C-L-A-Y. From Des Moines?
Peter.
C-L-A-Y? Okay, thank you.
In fact, you can keep that.
Okay, hey, thank you very much.
That's not exactly what I said, but it's close.
That's okay, thank you very much.
Hi, have a seat. If you could be sure to state your name and your address.
Well, Dwight Baldwin, President of the Iowa State Grange. I live at 2606 Highway 224 North in Kellogg, Iowa, 50135. As head of the Iowa State Grange, I know firsthand that agriculture industry is an energy-intensive industry. The Dakota Access pipeline is a vital link to provide our farmers from coast to coast with a reliable supply of domestic energy. Projects that place a sufficient emphasis on land migration and environmental protection are essential to supply the energy that farmers in the Iowa and regionally need. We believe that the permit request and waterway and drainage crossing plans address each of the areas necessary for the Iowa Department of Natural Resources, Iowa, to approve the project and help support vital industry.
Thank you.
Conclude mine. If you'd like a copy of this.
You want to just give them a copy? Or do you need to go to speak?
I don't have another
That's
copy.
okay. That's okay.
Clarify.
Thanks a lot.
We are taking these comments, we are preparing.
You're the president, Dwayne?
I'm the president,
That
yes.
will be available. That's why we're trying to get them recorded. We knew we were going to have a lot of people here tonight, so we're trying to get the comments recorded. We'll provide them.
There's a precedent to cover this story. They can't hear both speakers at one time.
They will be provided the transcripts once we have them. You are free to go outside and have the conversation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Public meeting. Please, Eric Lesher to table B, please.
Speak up, Jack. Take the speakers one at a time.
Well, wait, we've got all the time in the world. We want to hear everybody.
We want to hear what everyone has
Be sure
to
to
say.
state your name and your address and speak into the microphone so that we can get it recorded accurately.
Thank you. My name is Eric Lesher. I live at 422 46th Place in West Des Moines, Iowa. I want to talk about should the pipeline or should the sovereign permits be granted. I want to talk about some suggestions I'd like to make to the DNR to protect the citizens of the state of Iowa. The Dakota Access is owned by a company called Dakota Access Limited Liability Company is owned by a company called Energy Transfer Partners Limited Partnership. They in turn are owned by or are controlled by a company called Energy Transfer Equity Limited Partnership, which owns 100% of the incentive distribution rights. Basically, they control the pipeline company. That company in itself, that limited partnership, has limited liabilities. It is controlled by a gentleman by the name of Kelsey Warren. Mr. Warren was compensated by the amount of $6 million in 2014 to run that company. I think it's in the interest of the citizens of Iowa and Department of Natural Resources to make sure that should the permit be granted, that proper things are in place to protect the citizens of Iowa. More specifically, I would encourage the Department of Transportation to require the companies involved to sign an environmental indemnity agreement. Because limited liability companies tend to transfer their assets out of their company and send them on to their members, it is very difficult for the state of Iowa or the citizens of Iowa to ever recover from these limited liability companies should a spill occur, which is unfortunately a distinct possibility. Therefore, because the limited liability companies will not have the necessary assets to mitigate the damages caused by a pipeline spill, I would encourage the Iowa Department of Resources in the state of Iowa to obtain a personal guarantee from the person who controls all these companies, i.e. Kelsey Warren, who is, according to several news reports, whether it's Bloomberg or Wikipedia or Bloomberg, here's what I'm looking at, he is referred to as a billionaire. So I would encourage the DNR to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle.
Wally Taylor to table A, Pam Mackey Taylor to table B, please.
Thank you. Be sure to speak into the microphone so that we can record your whole comment, and start with your name and your address. And you have 3 minutes.
I'm Pam Mackey Taylor. I'm from 2200 South 31st Street in Marion, Iowa. I encourage the DNR to look at the sworn testimony that Dakota Access provided to the Iowa Utilities Board. It is very instrumental in making your decision in this situation. One of the things that they said is that they would be harvesting trees that the bats are providing on after March 31st. In the testimony that was provided to the IUB, this would be the formal filing of paperwork that was filed at the close of the hearing. They said that they would be cutting down trees that the long-eared bat, northern long-eared bat, would inhabit. They first are going to monitor a tree 24 hours before cutting it down. The problem is that the long-eared bat uses trees, several trees, for roosting, and they have one primary tree and several. In the wildlife management area, there will be 4 trees that possibly could be used by the long-eared bat. It's unacceptable to cut these trees down after the 31st of March and before before October 31st. Second thing that was said at the IUB hearing is that no trees would be replanted on the construction right away. That's unacceptable. In fact, they said they would be using the right natural succession for the trees to grow back. If there were trees planted in an area, I advocate that they should be replaced with trees. Third thing that they said at the IUB hearing is that they would plant a cover crop. If this is built, the DNR needs to ensure that the cover crop is native species compatible with the habitat already existing in the area. They indicated that they would be clearing the right-of-way, the permanent easement, permanently clearing it away, and that will fragment the habitat that are used by all sorts of birds. It's obvious, too, that the surveys have been incomplete. The written material said that there were surveys in the spring and the fall. and the surveys need to be more thorough and more consistent. And finally, there's an issue with the archaeological surveys that have been done up in the wildlife management area, and there need to be much more thorough surveys because this is such a rich area that was used by the Native Americans.
Thank you.
Carolyn Ruffensberger to table B, please.
There are many federally state threatened and endangered species along the route. There's been no survey for those species.
Keith Greiner to table A, please.
Seat, please. I'm going to stand up. Oh, well, the microphone is staying here.
I'm Carolyn Raffensperger. I live in Ames, Iowa. I'm representing Future Generations before you today.
Keith
And I'm
Greiner,
asking
table A,
that
please.
the DNR reject this permit because it stands for the public trust. It stands for the public trust not only for present generations, but for future generations. The public trust means that it is responsible for the well-being of the common wealth that we share
Last call,
and
Keith
these
Greiner.
particular things that we have. The responsibility that I hold is to give or withhold my free, prior,
Ed
and informed
Weinstein to
consent,
table A, please.
which is the basis of government. Without my free, prior, and informed consent, government has no legitimacy. I do not give my consent to Dakota Access destroying this land, destroying the options of future generations to have clean air, clean water, and a stable climate. Thank you.
Mark Hauser, table B, please.
Now the DNR undertakes the next step of the review process for the Dakota Access.
Mark Hauser.
Hi.
We urge the
Seat.
department to take all
You can state your name and your address into the microphone.
My name is Mark Hauser. I live at 2831 332nd Street in Truro, Iowa. I would like to speak on behalf of the company that is going to do the directional drilling on this project. I had the opportunity to work with these people this fall. While I am not one of their permanent employees, I still found them to be very professional, very knowledgeable, and also very conscientious of the environment that they were doing. The things that impressed me most about them is their knowledge of the things that can go wrong and how that could affect the environment, and what they would do to make sure that this did not happen. Like I said, they are very professional, years and years and years of knowledge amongst all these people. I've been in the construction business for most of my adult life. I'm 58 years old, so I've been around the block or two. I know what a pig looks like, and I know what a squirrel looks like. So I just wanted to speak on behalf of these people that I think they will do an excellent job for them. So
Thank you very much. Thank you for your comments.
James Romanko, table B, please.
Speak loud so we can hear you in the back.
The microphone stays on the table.
Okay.
What's
Change now.
your name and your address?
J.D. Ramonko.
Raise your voice.
308 South Jefferson Street, Pleasantville, Iowa. I ask the DNR to strongly consider and approve the permit for the Dakota Access to cross the state public lands. The company has fully addressed how they plan to mitigate impacts with directional drilling across the Des Moines, Mississippi, and the Big Sioux River. I know there has been much discussion about tree removal, but as someone who has worked on numerous construction projects, this is purely for safety and federal requirements. Excuse me. In order to safely operate the pipeline, they must have a clear line of sight in case of emergency. Trees along the permanent easement would hinder the ability to rapidly respond. Additionally, the company has carefully conducted surveys across the entire route to identify any threatened or endangered species. Finally, they have put together a comprehensive plan to address any anticipated findings. The company's commitment to ensuring projects is done correctly by hiring skilled labor who shows to me and sends a commitment to our state that they want the project to succeed and done correctly. I ask the DNR to look at all the facts and approve the permit. Thank you.
Kevin Alston, table B. Kevin Alston. Kevin Alston, last call, table B.
is Kevin.
Okay.
All the contractors that work on pipelines all have to be trained and qualified to meet all the environmental requirements of the horizontal directional drilling was put into place.
Start with your name and your address.
All right. My name is Kevin Alsop, 8203 Dakota Drive. As a native Iowan, I firmly believe an environmental impact must be the principal consideration for any large-scale infrastructure project. When done correctly, infrastructure can be built and properly in harmony with the natural environment. But efforts to achieve this balance must be clearly defined and thoroughly evaluated. Dakota Access has done an extraordinary efforts to develop an intensive environmental mitigation plan that many aspects exceeds the standards for state and federal agencies, and I am impressed by the Dakota Access commitment and confidence that they will continue to demonstrate the high degree of environmental stewardship shown this project come to fruition. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Ross Walsh, table B.
Start with your name and your address.
Yes, ma'am.
Speak into the mic.
My name is Ross Walsh. My address is 2201 Rustic Avenue, Winterset, Iowa. First, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity this evening to encourage the Iowa Department of Natural Resources to support permitting the Dakota Access Pipeline project across identified tracts of the state land. I'm here today to support the Dakota Access
In order for us to capture your
pipeline.
comments, sir, we have to
Like
wait
nearly
so that we
everyone
can
in this
capture them on the
room,
recorder so
I
that we
drove
know
here
who it is.
and I'll drive home tonight. Despite what you might hear from some, oil is going to be part of our economy for decades to come. Currently, much of the oil is coming from our own domestic sources in the Bakken. The boom in the Bakken has happened rapidly. However, the infrastructure isn't there yet to move the quantities being produced in our refineries. Much of the oil is being shipped out via rail or truck. At the height of the boom, around 30 oil trains were crossing through Iowa every week. These trains go through our towns, cross our rivers and streams. If they were to
Jordan
derail,
Kopp, please go to table A.
it would have a significant adverse ecological effect. We need safe, proven infrastructure that is constructed in a way that considers the environment. Dakota
Jordan
Access
Kopp.
has shown through
Got
their
it.
willingness
Thank
to
you.
work with landowners and others that they are committed to protecting the environment and operating this pipeline at the highest standard. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Ryan Hollenreich, table B, please.
Hi. Have a seat.
Can I stand?
The mic stays on the table. I'd like to capture your comments. Your name and address. Name and
Ryan
address.
Hollenreich, 1209 Frontier Road, Elston, Iowa. Training coordinator for Operating Engineers Local 234. I lived in Iowa my whole life. I hunt, I fish, I enjoy the outdoors. The Dakota Access Pipeline will be constructed to the highest energy industrial standards with minimal environmental impact. They will be constructed by the skilled men and women within the state of Iowa.
Philip Wallace, table A.
I'm also appalled by some of the antics and disrespect that's being shown to the Department of Natural Resources this evening. You need to respect their agenda, the way they're doing things, and structuring this comment section. I have the utmost respect for the Department of Natural Resources and the structure they're doing. I'm not going to pander to a small group of constituents in the audience for applause, catchy chants, hoopla hooey, or antics that can resemble a high school pep rally at times. This venue's not for those antics. It's about respect and getting your point across. Simple as that. The antics like high school pep rallies, 30-second sound bites and quotes in the newspaper, that's all they're good for. It muddies the waters about the clear economic impact positively this will have for the state of Iowa today, tomorrow, and decades to come. We must build this project. I'm here to speak on behalf of the 2,500 men and women of the Operating Engineers Local 234. On behalf of them, behalf of their families, fellow tradesmen in this room, and thousands of people across this great state of Iowa who support this project but can't be here tonight. On their behalf, I ask and I urge, grant this permit. Hey.
Are you ready?
Start with your name and your address.
Jerry Ryan, 11480, Highway 10, Blue Mountain, Arkansas. A member of Pipeliners Local 798 with 6,500 skilled pipeline welders, journeymen, and helpers. I ask that the Dakota Access Pipeline be permitted across state lands in Iowa. Using state-of-the-art welding technologies, Local 798 welders will join the high-strength steel pipe with the use of fusion bond coating and cathodic protection. Service life for the Dakota Access Pipeline will be indefinite. When placed in operation, Dakota Access will be a silent, unseen means of transporting American-produced crude oil across Iowa. Refined products including gasoline, diesel fuel, and jet fuel will return back to Iowa through existing pipelines to fuel not only transportation and agriculture, but recreation on Iowa's many lakes and public use lands, including the Big Sioux River Wildlife Management Area. Thank you. What a show y'all got going.
James Edmondson, table B, please.
I don't think I can top my boss's speech. James Edmondson, Des Moines, Iowa. I'm a skilled and proud operating engineer that has worked on hundreds of construction jobs over the course of my career.
Ross Gruters, table A,
I am
please.
confident that we can build this pipeline to be reliable and above all safe. Our union has apprenticeship programs spanning many years designed to teach the most up-to-date techniques and safety measures related to laying and welding pipe. We expect excellence from ourselves, and this project will be no exception. After all, we live here too, and we have to stand by the safety and quality of our work for years to come. We are more than ready to get to work. I myself have participated in horizontal directional drilling underneath the Missouri River, Mississippi River, and Illinois rivers in Missouri and Illinois, the Green River in Utah, and through wetlands areas in Alabama. It's a proven and safe, reliable method to get underneath Iowa's rivers. I urge the DNR to look at the merits of this project and approve it in a timely manner. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Eric Schmidt, table B, please.
In 2014, Des Moines Register columnist Bill Petrosky published an article highlighting about 100 pipeline leaks in recent years. Now those were mainly propane and anhydrous leaks, but the reason for that is there are no operational crude oil pipelines in Iowa. They don't exist. A project of this magnitude hasn't been done in Iowa. Unfortunately, there has been an
Start with your name and your address and speak clearly into the microphone.
My name is Eric Schmidt. My address is 5806 Meredith Drive, Des Moines, Iowa 50322. I I would first like to thank the Department of Natural Resources for the opportunity this evening to encourage the DNR to support the permitting of the Dakota Access Pipeline project across the identified tracts of state land. Iowa members from the Laborers International Union of North America are ready to build the Dakota Access Pipeline, and we encourage the Iowa Department of Revenue, the Iowa Department of Natural Resources to approve the necessary permits. The men and women in our organization who plan on being employed to work on this project are well versed in safety, precautions, and environmental protections that must be undertaken to guarantee the long-term integrity of the pipeline. Working with the state and federal officials, hope this recording can hear me over him, and the company, as we have on countless other large-scale projects, we will be unyielding in ensuring that the line is built by our most highly skilled workforce in accordance with our exceeding all safety specifications, and in a way that will ensure its long-term safe operations. The DNR permits are necessary for project completion to bring good jobs to Iowa and promote our country's energy independence. And for those reasons, we hope that they approve it. Thank you for your time.
If you'd like to leave your written comments, we can keep those just in case.
That would be great. Thank you. Good luck to you guys.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Mary Ann Cope, table B, please.
Hi. You can have a seat. The microphone stays on the table. And we just need your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Mary Ann Koch. The address is 5234 Meredith Drive, Des Moines, Iowa. I used to live in Boone County, where I was designated as an official observer for the DNR, observing the activity of a pair of eagles on the Des Moines River. I watched them for 4 years at that time and saw them raise their young in a huge nest that was across the river from where I had to hike into. My concern is what happens to our rivers, what happens to our lands. What will these eagles do when their water source and their food source has been polluted by this pipeline? And we all know that something will happen. It's not if, but it's a when. I'm concerned about all of the wildlife, especially the ones that I watched. They did flybys for me, that talked to me from up in the sky, that raise their young. These, the eagles of Iowa, are recognized throughout the world through the Dakota eagles. We have a stake in the wildlife of our land. We have a stake in all of our land. I, as a long time Iowan, forever Iowa, am concerned about our lands, our waters, our wildlife, and our life. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Doris Koval, table B, please.
Start with your name and address and just speak into the microphone. If you could leave it on the table, please.
Okay. My name is Doris Koval. I live at 1534 43rd Street in Des Moines. I am against the permits for the Bakken pipeline because I do not believe that Iowans should have to have the risk of having their soil and water spoiled by a leak. Also, I am concerned about the ecosystems that this will disturb, and I believe that we should reject this because it's no benefit to Iowa except for some jobs, temporary jobs, which I know are valuable now, but the risk and the cleanup and that we would have for years to come would be on us Iowans, and why we should not risk our soil and our water for some Texas oil company. And we should be getting away from fossil fuels anyway because of climate change. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Dan Primack? Okay,
Not quite halfway.
Okay. Nick Primack?
Hello.
Thank you. You guys got a tough job tonight.
That's it. What we're here for. We just need your name and address, and you have 3 minutes, and we'll leave this on the table for you.
Perfect. My name's Nick Primick, 329 Northeast Kingwood, Waukee, Iowa. I live here in Iowa. I hunt and fish here in Iowa. Consider myself a great steward of the land. I'm also a third-generation construction laborer. I know firsthand this pipeline is going to be built by the best trained and qualified workforce in the construction industry. Open cuts and directional drilling are things that our laborers do every day. The DNR can rest easy knowing that if this pipeline is built, it's going to be of a quality that is second to none. I would ask that the DNR grant the permits for the Dakota Access pipeline. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep, thanks.
Tom Primack, please, table B.
Nobody else can hear when you're making a noise, Barry can rock it either.
David Drake, table A, please.
Hello. Please state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Tom Primick, 3701 Southeast 18th Court, Des Moines, Iowa. I'm here in favor of the pipeline. I've been a 30-year member of the Des Moines Laborers Local 177, and we are a highly trained and skilled profession. And with the training and skill of the laborers that we put in place, and I would that a permit be granted because it can be put in safely without disturbing the land. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Keith Tuckney,
Those are for it, and against
table B,
it.
please.
We need to support you guys, and we're going to do that. I'm with the Iowa Chapter Physicians for Social Responsibility. And to begin with, the aftermath of the Paris COP21, like all nations, the U.S. needs to rapidly pivot away from fossil fuels to increase support for clean energy alternatives. Iowa is a farm state, as you know, a leader in wind energy. Does not need a new, disruptive, and potentially dangerous pipeline, which only benefits
Last call, Keith Tuckney.
short-term jobs in exchange for a number of long-term serious risks. Such a pipeline is a move back
Mike
for
Weckman.
Iowa, U.S., and the whole of the world as a whole. Another serious concern is Iowa's water. In an area of declining sources of fresh water around the world, Iowa cannot afford to put our water on the surface of ground at increasing risk. Iowans are already challenged to keep agricultural and
Good evening, ladies.
Your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Okay.
I'll leave the mic right here.
Leave it right there. Okay, my name is Mike Weckman. I'm a lifelong Iowan. I currently reside at 16215 Monroe Court, Urbandale, Iowa. I've spent my career in underground utilities. I've spent many seasons working in our rivers, from the Des Moines River and the 4 Mile River. I support the Dakota Access Pipeline and encourage the Iowa DNR to do the same. Thank you for your opportunity this evening to encourage the Iowa Department of Natural Resources to support permitting of the Dakota Access Pipeline project across the identified tracts of the state of Iowa. Thanks.
Groundwater withdrawal and extreme drought.
Kerry Carney.
Disrupted pipeline presents even bigger hazard. This was interesting. Just one drop of oil, get this, one drop of oil can make up to 6.6 gallons of water undrinkable. For future health, and again on behalf of Physicians for Social Responsibility and Iowa physicians, we must do all we can to protect our water now. Every drop counts. Last but not least, consider the mathematical.
We leave the mic on the table.
Simplicity and liability.
We leave the mic on the table, and you can state your name and address. Ma'am.
All right, they will not let me speak inside the thing. Thank you very much. My name is Carrie Carney. I am from Norwalk, Iowa, and I'm representing 1,000 Friends of Iowa. We are here as 1,000 Friends of Iowa to urge the DNR to say no to this permit. This permit is bad for Iowa, and the Iowa DNR needs to remember what their job is. Their job is not to create jobs for union workers. Their job is not to create billions of dollars for a company who's never done a pipeline before, who wants to use Iowa as their guinea pig experiment. Their job is to protect the natural resources, to protect our water, to protect our soil, to protect our wildlife. And if they approve this permit, they are failing on all accounts. The Des Moines River is already very polluted, and it's a major drinking source for this area. We've already had lots and lots of problems. Putting it at risk again is only going to create more problems. Director Gipp, I am urging you to say no to this permit. Thank you.
Daniel Worth.
Don't let them push you around, people.
We'd like the microphone on the table so that we can assure that we get a quality recording.
And then I'm going to stand up.
That's fine.
I'm
Jordan
Danielle
McCloskey,
Woods.
table
I
please.
live at 1456 334th Road, Woodward, Iowa, 50276.
New Madrid earthquake. This will reach where that pipeline is buried. I worked for the DNR in the Environmental Protection Division. I regulated oil companies. The liability level per spill when I worked for the DNR was starting at $250,000. The level of liability that this company will experience and has put on the table is not enough to cover the spills that will occur. There's a dance between soil particles and the metal in the pipeline. That's called cation exchange. That metal pipe will leak. There's a weak electrical current that is set up between those soil particles and that metal pipe. The small holes become beaker holes. That pipeline will leak. The DNR has been asked to look at this project from the standpoint of protecting our natural resources. Ecological infrastructure will be affected by this pipeline because of the
Aaron
prudential
Jorgensen
value
Briggs,
provided by ecological systems. Prudential value, we need these ecological systems for our own good. This pipeline must be rejected on the basis of prudential value. The DNR does not need to consider jobs, building things. The DNR is asked to look at the ecological infrastructure and protecting ecological services for this generation and for generations to come.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bernadette Siebert, table B, please.
We've had just the microphone on the table to get, I'm concerned when people pick it up.
Bernadette Siebert.
We've asked them to be on the table.
Last call, Bernadette Siebert. Jeremy Freeman, table B, please.
Need my address right?
You need your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Jeremy Freeman. I live at 7618 Camelot Drive, number 346 in Urbandale. I would just like to express my support for this pipeline, as I have a background in natural resource management as I graduated from Iowa State in natural resource management. I also run my own business, Restoring Prairies. I would like you guys to remember that this oil will be transported across the state of Iowa, regardless of whether you permit this pipeline or not. If it is not gone through the pipeline, you will immediately see it coming through over trains. We do not need to think about how many train disasters there are every year and accidents that happen because of derailments, crashes, and other problems leaking from cars. This is a much safer, much friendlier way to actually transport this oil. This is going to happen regardless of whether this is permitted or not. Let's get this transported in the safest manner possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nathan Mikowski, table B, please.
From Brenda Brinkman, Iowa, she said, I doubt many Iowans trust Iowa Department of Natural Resources to do the right thing with the backlog of pipeline hearing on December 16th. After all, their track record is protecting our waters and forests. With here the citizen outcry and a lawsuit.
David Mikowski.
Water Act. This work plan is miles from restoring public trust in DNR leadership. DNR has designated only 4 areas of concern on the Dixie River.
You have 3 minutes.
Okay.
Name and address, speak clearly so we can get it in the recording.
I'll speak extra clear.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Nathan Malahusky. I live here in Des Moines, 650 16th Street. I want to start just by saying it is also not the DNR's responsibility to create jobs or economic benefits for our state. So any job relating or any benefit relating to economic stuff is really irrelevant here. Instead, I think what we need to revisit are some signs here. I think some of you have probably seen these before, but these are oil spills that have happened
table A.
in different places across the country. These aren't anomalies. This is the trend. This is what happens when we build pipelines. This is on someone's farmland in North Dakota, 840,000 gallons of Bakken crude. Especially relevant is the Kalamazoo oil spill here. That's a pipeline that was similar to this proposal. That was 1 million gallons of tar sands crude, so a different kind of oil. But it took 5 years to clean up. They're still cleaning up, billions of dollars. This is the kind of impact we're talking about on the Des Moines River, on the Sioux River, on the Mississippi River. That's not what we can't accept that. We have to reject that. But what is also very important, it's sort of a question I have for you all. What has DNR done over the past decade to protect Iowa's water? I would say nothing. Iowa's waters have gotten dirtier and dirtier. We have a clean water crisis right now. How can we expect them to do this job? How can we expect Chuck Gibb to do this job when he's failed time and time again to protect our waterways and ensure that we have clean drinking water in Iowa? For that reason, DNR needs to reject this proposal. They are woefully inadequate when it comes to protecting water quality. That's all. Thank you.
That's right. Laverne Johnson, table B, Laverne Johnson.
What happened? Just grab water.
Laverne Johnson. Last call, Laverne Johnson. Robert Ryerson, table B. Tom Smith. Tom Smith, table B.
Hi.
You'll have 3 minutes if you'll start with stating your name and your address.
Sure.
And speak clearly so we can catch
Tom
it.
Smith with Murphy Tractor and Equipment, 1303 3rd Avenue West, Fort Dodge. Here representing John Deere and the John Deere Construction Forestry dealers here in Iowa. John Deere supports the Dakota Access pipeline because of the positive benefits the project will bring to Iowa. John Deere employs over 15,000 Iowans, manufacturing facilities throughout the state. We've made committed investments throughout the state and have contractual relationships with over 1,400 Iowa suppliers, totaling more than $2.6 billion annually. A recent study by the National Association of Manufacturers further emphasizes the positive benefits that crude oil pipelines can have
Dan
on U.S.
Higginbottom,
manufacturing
Table
growth
A.
and employment, with over 275,000 jobs created, 26,000 in manufacturing alone, and contributing $31.4 billion to the U.S. GDP in 2014.
Dan
If the project's
Higginbottom.
permitted, John Deere and its dealers, such as the one I work for, Murphy Tractor and Equipment, will have the opportunity to provide the equipment and technologies
Last call,
necessary to
Dan
safely
Higginbottom.
build the project, and therefore further our state's economic benefits and job security. Projects like the
Sheila
Dakota Access must be built to the highest standard,
Nocton
and John
O'Doul.
Deere is committing to
Did I
provide
pronounce
the
that right?
highest quality
Apologies if I
equipment, much of it made in our state, at our factories either at Davenport or Dubuque,
No, that wasn't
to help them
close.
do just that.
Sorry, I was okay. I'm used to it.
As a side, as a 20-year veteran of the construction
Where do you want
industry, we've seen countless projects like this. Maybe they're liquid fuels, maybe they're natural gas, maybe they're anhydrous ammonia. It's in nobody's best interest to build a pipeline that's going to leak. We see contractors from all over the country, as well as Iowa, every year where you have stream beds that maybe wash out from a flood event. Contractors come in, lay erosion mats, they do different control structures to protect their investment. It makes no sense to put a pipe in the ground and let it leak. Who would send their product through there? That's why Murphy Tractor, the John Deere Construction Forestry dealers across Iowa, and John Deere Corporate support this project very much and ask that the permit be approved.
Thank you.
Mitch Pepka,
In a decaying
Table
industry,
B.
in a dying industry. It's not the way of the future. We need to be more creative about how we use the talents of our construction engineers and our builders, because they're important to us. But we also have to take care of our environment. Iowa is a linchpin.
You have 3 minutes, and if you'll start with stating your name and your address, and make sure you speak clearly so we can catch it in the recording.
All right, thanks. And we're blessed. We are in a hot spot. We are in a safe
My name is
zone.
Mitch Repka. I live at Falcon Avenue in Tony, Wisconsin. Thank you to the Department of Resources for taking comments tonight regarding the permit. I'm here representing Precision Pipeline in support of approval of the permit to cross state-owned lands and waters for the Dakota Access Pipeline project. Environmental stewardship is important to the country, to the states we operate in, including Iowa, to the landowners, and to Precision Pipeline. We operate with the goal of 100% environmental compliance with every federal, state, and local environmental permit condition. This ideology of environmental compliance stands at the forefront of Precision Pipeline as one of our core values, along with safety and quality performance. Environmental compliance ensures resources are protected throughout the construction process and restored properly to ensure long-term sustainability of the resources. Precision Pipeline's environmental goals are to preserve the integrity of the environment, including the environmentally sensitive areas, water bodies, creeks, streams, drainage systems, timberland, grassland, and ag land. Precision Pipeline meets these goals by utilizing widely accepted best management practices regarding environmental safety and quality performance, minimizing to the extent possible the amount and duration of disturbance, protecting soils by employing the best management practices and stabilization of disturbed soils. Also establishing an effective inspection and maintenance program. Precision Pipeline recognizes that in order to advance our core values of environmental stewardship, safety of our employees and the public, and also providing a quality end product, we must maintain a well-trained team in regards to each aspect of our business. Management support, education, and continual evaluation provide the structured approach to achieving our goals. Precision Pipeline maintains the Director of Environmental Compliance as well as environmental coordinators at the spread level. These individuals work very closely with our clients, the agencies, and inspection staff to ensure environmental compliance objectives are met. As for education, we provide leadership training for key personnel on environmental safety and quality expectations, as well as job-specific orientation and job training for members of the project team. There are weekly environmental and safety meetings, including refresher topics on training as well. As for evaluation, Precision utilizes an environmental evaluation program of field employees regarding our environmental and safety compliance. Data is analyzed at the field and also corporate level to allow for continued success and growth in terms of environmental, safety, and quality performance. In closing, I'd like to say Precision Pipeline is committed to environmental compliance. Our employees enjoy the outdoors. Many of us fish, hunt, and enjoy recreational activities. We understand the importance of protecting our resources and working safely. It is the core of our business. Therefore, I'm asking for the permit to cross public state-owned waters and lands be granted. Thank you.
There are 4 crossings that are described